Alrighty, welcome there, Daisy modders, to another weekend installment of Tree Scripting. We're gonna be working on the main menu today. Just like we talked about last week, we kind of went over the structure and general scaffolding or layout of how menus and the UIs are built. And so if you are coming to this cold, just watch the previous video, the last like 15-ish to 20 minutes. And it'll go over sort of some of the basics that we'll talk about today and set you up for success. So luckily for me, I remember to share my screen in Discord, so that's great. Oh my gosh, there's a spammer. But where? Oh, interesting. The bot didn't clear this one. Thank you. Cool. So we're sharing. I think I have everything set up. Let's see. Music seems to be a little loud. I'll drop that down. Okay. Yeah, let's go get started. We're doing main menu stuff today, and it is a topic that I see a lot of people come into the Modders Discord and ask about. How do I make a main menu? Especially since the 1.26 or 1.27 update that kind of changed UIs and added dynamic music players, so it changed how the main menu music worked, and people were wondering how to fix that in their mods. And so that's one of the things we're gonna talk about today. So let's go ahead and dive in. In order to do UI stuff, or even to touch the layout, or to even understand what it is or how to use it, you need to have workbench set up, and we covered that in our first video. So I'm gonna go ahead and start our workbench. We have our script here that we've already made, and I'm just gonna call it. Open up workbench. Good to go. I need to close my door 1 second. All right, there we go. Background noise. Is workbench starting up? Okay, yeah, it's just taking a little while. I already have my project open in Daisy projects folder open in VS Code, so this should be familiar to you. Okay, so when we talk about UIs, we can browse Daisy's base layouts that we know of in the GUI folder. You just go to the P drive, go to GUI, and then it's in the folder called layouts, and it has all the stuff that you would ever need for the user interface. And this is where Daisy has sort of defined the specific layouts that they want and that they're using. And they have Xbox's layouts here, they have PC's layouts. And so in order to find the layout you're looking for, you kind of got to use some searching, some search foo. And so if you have the P drive open in your VS Code, Control Shift F to search all files. And I'm just going to type in main menu. All right, since I know, like, I want to make a main menu, the base Daisy main menu is probably going to be called main menu. So I do that, and I'm going to clamp it on matching the whole word because that was a little too many options. And I know that it's probably going to be its own class because it's a unit of work. So I'm going to just prefix this search term with class. And it looks like we have a couple options. 2 are modded that I've done, and here's the vanilla main menu. All right. So we open this up, and you'll notice that it's a 5 mission. If I go into the folder structure, it's under 5 mission. So this is UI side or client side mostly. And you can see that it extends UI scripted menu, which is a very powerful widget. If you haven't ever looked inside of the UI scripted menu guts, you should, because it's again very powerful. It's how you allow the player to bring up a user interface or some type of UI thing from a keystroke or an action. UI scripted menu is the thing that does that. You ideally you create a subclass or a child of UI scripted menu, inherit from it, and then you register it with the 5 mission menu system, and then it exposes it through the rest of the game. And you essentially open it through a constant. It makes it incredibly easy. And so, like, if you look at the notes mod that I've made, or even just DayZ notes in general, you'll see that an action just opens up the UI to type into a note. It's very trivial. So these things are powerful, and we'll talk more about them later. But if you notice inside of the main menu class, there are a ton of things in here, just like gobs and gobs of things. And that's because the main menu is very busy. There's also buttons you can click. There is a background scene. There's the potential for a video. There's the UI widget for the mods you're loading. And so it's just very busy. And editing this file itself is probably not a good idea for a new modder, but we're gonna try and attempt it anyway. All right. So I just want you to make sure that they're going to those on the video. Like, look at all these things, like observe the names of them, observe the widgets, the types that are, this text widget is different from a normal widget, which is different from a fade timer widget. And so you can start kind of seeing how these UI elements are grouped together to do a specific thing. Okay. So scrolling down past the member variables, member properties, you have every widget has an init function, and the init function returns the type widget, and it does that because whenever a widget is created, it returns its root layout. So when we talked about last time on the video, ideally there's a single element that represents the root, and then there are a bunch of children inside of it that have their own children as well. And so at the tip of the pyramid, there is a single widget that contains everything. And so all of our widgets will create themselves and then pass itself or hand itself over to the main root layout so that it can be within the container that is your screen. And so that's like what we're looking at here. And in most cases, in any widget you have, the first line is creating that layout. So what is the thing that we're going to be displaying? And right here you can see we have a file path to GUI, layouts, new UI, main menu layout. And so right there off the bat, we have a path to go find the layout and look at it in Workbench. So GUI, layouts, new UI, main menu layout. All right, and so I click on this thing and I can see right here, this looks very familiar. If you've even opened up the game, you've seen these things before. You haven't seen them in this state because they're kind of unpopulated, but that's okay because we're looking at like the guts of it. So let's see if I can, if I click play, it kind of removes it. And this is sort of an example of what you would see. This little button I clicked up here, this green caret, it's a live preview. It just takes it and shoves in any kind of data it can, or remove the markers and stuff that you can see. It's no big deal. Okay, so once you have this clicked, open up on the right side, go to the hierarchy. Again, I talked about the root layout. There's a hierarchy which implies an order to things, one thing before the other, which allows us to do layering or aligning things one on top of the other. Like if you have two images and they clip over each other, like which one is drawn on top, that is an important thing in the hierarchy. And so if you look in the main menu, there are just a couple panels that exist, and I'm going to expand this out a bit. There's the play panel root, so I click it, it kind of highlights it. There's the Xbox panel, which is disabled at the moment because I'm not using Xbox. And for our purposes, in most cases, I don't mod for console, so I don't consider Xbox at all. So that's one thing. I would just delete this out of my layout. The settings panel is up here to the top right. We got the logo in the top left. We have the modded warning that says, hey, you're playing a modded version of the game. And if you play vanilla, you don't see this, but if there are mods loaded, this is shown. And so that kind of implies right there that there's script-based toggling of hiding and showing of UI elements, which should just stick in the back of your mind. The character rotation frame, so when the character is actually displayed, you can rotate it around. The mod details list, the last server you played on, some licensing information, the vignette around the game, or around the edge. The simple mod layout icons, the little images, and then the DLC frame, which shows the DLC that you've bought. And so that's the main menu. And if you notice, there is no, on the main menu itself, there's no background. And I think for new modders, this can kind of catch you off guard because the main menu doesn't actually have a background. It has a world view. So when we talk about loading screens, we do have a background. And then in the concept of loading screen, there are 3 independent views that are in the loading process that can take a new modder off guard as well. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But I guess the biggest thing here is like, how do I change the main menu to suit my needs? And so the easiest answer is to just right click the main menu, open file location. You can copy it, literally just highlight it, Control C. I'm going to go into my mod. And since I have this thing here, actually, I'm going to on my desktop. I don't have a GUI folder yet, so we're going to create one. New folder, GUI. We're going to do a new folder called layouts. And I'm just going to paste it in here, and I'm just going to rename it. So, I test main menu layout. Cool. Awesome. And now I have a folder if I wanted to do fonts or anything like that, and we'll probably add in fonts and graphics as we get more complex. But for now, this is what we'll have. And if I open it up in my VS Code, you'll notice that we got a lot of gibberish in here. I wouldn't say gibberish, but a lot of properties and properties that are set. The relative values, like when I say relative, it's 0 to 1, or it's 0 or 1. We have some positions here. We have some alignment, flags, things like that. So nothing too intense. The important thing here is that the names. So if you look at the classes, the type of element, and then the name, I'm not changing any of the names. And the reason why is because the main menu is relatively complex. And if we move over to the code for connecting the widgets that you see in the UI to the code references or to the objects on the back end or script side, it's done by name, basically the element name. And if I were to change them, then I would have to change them in here. And that's not like a big deal, but anytime you're changing these kinds of links and stuff, there's always a chance to break it, and then you wonder like why your stuff's not working. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it. And so if I were to say, like, if we go back to the script side and if we look at some of the buttons or options that are kind of available to us from the script side, technically everything in the layout is available, but we don't need to pull all of that into memory. And so we see that there's a play button, or there's a play widget, there's a choose server, customize server, play video, feedback button. I think the play is the play button. So I'm gonna go and copy that. And I'm gonna go into the layout and search for it. So here's play panel root, button widget right here, or exactly what I'm looking for. So if this is the widget that represents this object right here, and this is an important distinction, and so I'll sort of focus on this a little bit for the video, in the sense that if I want to be able to know when a button is pressed, or fill a widget with text from my script side, or trigger something on the UI, I need to have a reference to that object. And if you're new to programming, a reference to the object is really just like a link. And the link here is the name. I have the physical representation of the button. It's defined here, the size, the width, the height, where it's positioned. We can see it literally here on the UI. This is where it would be. And so if I want to actually be able to interact with it on the script side, I need to be able to tell the code to go grab this element. And the only way to do that efficiently is for the code to go and like look in the file or look in the layout and say, do any of you buttons have the name play? In this case, it does. And so this widget sort of raises its hand and it returns itself. And then we have this equal sign here, which we are assigning to a variable, the m_play variable. And if I go up to the top, it is a type widget, just like a normal variable you'd declare anywhere. And we assign it by grabbing the root layout. So what is the thing we're displaying? Find any widget with the name play. Okay, and so this is the link, the connection to your UI. So in the future, if you're making a complex list and you have a question of like, why can't I interact with my list? My first question is going to be, well, what's the name of your widget? Where are you assigning that widget to a variable in your class? And like, how are you interacting with that variable? So it's kind of the three-part recipe. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and change our layout. Let's go ahead and customize it a little bit for our needs, wants, desires. We need to reload, I believe. Source data, if I come down to my mods, test mods. Yeah, I'll need to reload. Workbench. And so so while Workbench is opening, you don't technically need Workbench to edit these layout files. I could go in and like change the size right here. It's 1 and 1. I don't know how it would impact the game or the layout because I don't have like a visual representation, but like this size right here, 46 or 460 by 400, like I could change that to 500 and know that I'm changing the height. But if you want to like get some visual feedback of your UI, you need to do it this way. Okay, so scrolling down, test mod. Oops. All right, so we can see my layout here, my test main menu layout, and let's go ahead and quit the window. Let's go ahead and move this like up here. I'm gonna take the settings and move them down here, and I'm just doing small things to show you that you can just change it how you want. I'm actually gonna rename some of these things. All right, so my play panel, here's the bottom section, here's the play button, here's the play panel, here's the play label. So let's go ahead and change this to something like, so if you notice, if you go down to the text widget, they're using this hash and then main menu _ play. If I were to grab all of that, I'm gonna search on it, and you'll see that it's in quite a bit of layouts, and I'll need to add into my search terms CSV files so that it actually looks into the string tables. Should be giving me let's just open up the string table itself. Lang core table. Oh, I needed to remove the hash. My bad. So if you notice, if you look in the string table, which is basically the comma separated value list of all localized names or things in the game, You can see it says play right here. Play. And let's go ahead and add our own localization. I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult, right? I mean, I just need to do inside of my test mod, new folder, language core, and then a new file is going to be stringtable.csv. I should just be able to copy this guy completely, paste it, and then I'm going to name it to like test so that we know it's changed. Alrighty. And we'll just say play my server as the name. And so this is some way you can customize the button name. And we do it in a string table so that you can localize it for any language that you want. You don't technically have to do that. You could if you wanted. Right, you can hard code it here, but then you sort of lose the ability to localize it for other people that might play your server. So I'm just going to do that. And we'll sort of cross our fingers. At the moment, go and save that. I wonder if I reload my game or my workbench, it'll grab this string table. Because from my perspective, whenever I've done string table stuff, you don't need anything more than this. Like if it's here, then the game will just pick it up naturally because the string table just gets merged naturally. We'll see. Especially once we load into the game. It'll be obvious if it works or not. I made the change in here so I could see it changed by this is now in my layout. Excellent. Oh, maybe we should add a font too. Okay, no. I must need to like tell it that I have my own for the workbench itself. But I know some people, at least for our server, I'll show you so another thing about for the video here, the making a main menu takes a long time. So don't get like discouraged if you take several days on it, because like if you look at the main menu for our server, GUI layouts, like it's a little bit sleeker in design, but I've seen some servers have some really cool like side panel stuff, like our play route thing up here is just a bar at the top with one button here, a character button, a settings button, and the exit button, and like the logo is something just completely overlaid on top of it. So you know, if you're comparing it to, let's say, our main menu here, which is the vanilla one, where did it go? Keep double clicking it. So like how you represent these buttons. And so for ours, we kind of removed a lot of that and moved the modding thing down here, and then moved the buttons down here to the right, and then the majority of the scene is just like the world view that we'll set up here in a little bit. So you'll want to take some time to sort of design it yourself. And you can use the vanilla layout as an example, and as hooks, because it already has the buttons there for you and the names on the back end to hook into the game. So like you can just move this play button over here, or really the whole play panel. Oh, it looks like it's static. But that's sort of the, UI design. I won't go into that because it'll take too much time. But now that we have a main menu sort of main menu setup, let's go ahead and hook this into our code so that our class is the one that's called. All right, so I'm gonna save this. Let's see, menu. Okay, I'm gonna drag this to the right. And inside of my scripts folder, I'm gonna create the same file structure here. So folder is gonna be GUI, folder UI, folder main menu. And then we're going to do modded main menu. .c. All right, as always, modded class main menu. Just to start it all off nice and clean. Okay, let's go ahead and see how would we change this to use our own layout. And so there are two schools of thought. There's one, which is I'm going to go ahead and take the init function here and just copy and paste it blindly. Keep it overridden, and I'm not going to call super. So this is one of those cases where it's kind of a valid option to not call super, because you're essentially redefining the whole layout. And if the existing code was going to run, so vanilla over here, it would, grab the layout, would set it to the root, it would initialize all these variables, and then it would go through its logic and then eventually return the vanilla layout to the root widget. And so this is a common pitfall for new modders, because they'll do their layout and they will change the path here and be like, I know it's working because I built it in Workbench and I saw it, but it's not getting sent to the root layout, and so it's just getting thrown out there like an orphan. And so you need to make sure that for UI work, that the init function actually returns the root widget that you've created. And so in my case, I'm just going to come up here, I'm going to right click, copy the relative path, nice and easy. This VS Code will just start it from the P drive. And since the backslash is special character, I'm just going to follow vanilla / that. Okay. And this should be fine. Now, the downfall of doing it this way is that anytime there's a DayZ update, there's a potential for this to break. They might add something, and you'll need to come back here and recopy all this stuff. So one thing that I like to do is, or a possible but non-performant workaround to something like that, is doing a super init, but that would be to just ensure that none of these variables are sort of uninitialized in some capacity. I wouldn't really recommend that. And the reason why is because, again, main menus are very complex, and they really are the starting point for the thing. And so the hard override is most likely the only case that the hard override here is one of the few cases where I, in my opinion, am okay with a hard override, because you won't really ever see two main menus working together, or you shouldn't really have two main menu mods together. I don't really see a use case for that. It's a third way. Oh, you could prefix the layout. Yeah. So Genry in chat mentioned you could technically prefix the layout to change it. And prefixing is a somewhat complex topic for in modding. Basically, it's recreating the same file path to a thing, and it overrides the vanilla thing, and you can only do it once essentially. And there's a lot of caveats to it, but it is definitely is possible. So good call out. I say thing because it can be anything. Like you could prefix a house texture, you could prefix a house p3d, you could prefix a tree p3d, you could prefix a gun texture, a player model, another mod's mod, another mod's layout. Like as long as you recreate the file path to the data in the mod, it'll work. But it's kind of complex, and there's a whole write-up by one of the devs in the, I believe it's in the texturing channel in Infusion, so go check that out. Alrighty, so that should be all you really need. If you're really just touching the UI to move things around. Now, let's say you add something and you wanna add another button. I just copy and paste that. Oh my god. Oh, I did 2 undos and it crashed. Ah, crap. That's one of the downfalls of Workbench. That's funny. Use Reforger. Anyway, that should be all you really need to, if you're just doing a pure theme change, you don't need to change anything else. Like the buttons are all connected up, the play button's connected up. There's really not much more you need to do, unless you're trying to like change the IP you're setting to. If you can hard set your play button to only go to your server, I wouldn't recommend it. You can. You can also, I'm scrolling through all of this stuff. Like here's the play button. Like when you click play. Like here's the on-click events. So when you click your UI, since this is a scripted menu, there's base functionality that is understanding like what widget do you click and what is the XY location of your mouse and what button did they use to do the click. And really from those 4 pieces of information, you can derive a lot. I mean, heck, you could build a game with just these things, like Pac-Man or Snake and stuff like that. And so if you notice here, when the button is the left mouse button, you know, if the widget is the play button, play. If the widget is choose server, open the menu browser. If it's customize character, open the customize character menu. And so here is like the connection for when I click a button, what code am I invoking? And this is all already hooked up because the main menu again is built for you to get into the game. We as modders don't really need to change much other than what we're seeing. And so, unless there are any questions on that, we will just go ahead and load our main menu. So that should just be a function of packing our game up and rolling. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. P my test mod. Dump it into my test mod. Too many mods. Macaros does not like it when files are being accessed, so I need to close Workbench. Okay, and which server do I have this loaded up on? Okay, so we'll start the server, and one of the harder ways to test the UI is it's hard to like join into your local test server without and hit the main menu. You gotta like load in and then exit out, and then it'll drop you on the main menu. At least as far as I know. I haven't been able to, at least for diag mode. Why is this taking forever? Oh, what the heck? That's weird. Did I do anything different? Like the tombstone folder, maybe? I hate it when my servers don't start. What? Shouldn't be anything wrong with this. It sucks when it does this because I don't even know why it doesn't start up. There's no log for it. RPT file for it. Huh. Okay, well, I mean, obviously, the first thing I have to say is effed is probably this. Let's just remove my mod. Did I break it somehow? Yes. Okay. Well, that's an easy easy fix. So something in my mod broke this. Most likely this. I wonder if I did something to my UI on accident. That's funny. It happens. Console modding. I think there's a couple people that do some console modding. You just can't. You just can't use like admin tools and stuff, right? I don't know the limitations of console. Okay, so what did I do in my mod that's kind of effed? That could be that. Oh. I'm not even loading, That's another thing. So here's another issue that I would have run into eventually. I would have loaded in, and actually this is probably why it didn't work, or maybe no. Basically, I didn't have the mission script module loaded, so none of my 5 mission code was even being considered in the game. So let's go ahead and fix that. Mission script module. Oops. Files array. All consoles is just Daisy editor. Oh. Yikes. And then the dependencies up here is going to need to be a mission. Cool. And do I need to do anything with a string table? No. Let's see if that helps. Oh, nice. Thanks, Macaro. That fix anything? Still broken? Yeah, okay. Let's maybe when I closed out of Workbench, the main menu got corrupted. Let's see if Workbench will even start. Yikes. Another new mod or pitfall. It'd be funny if in Fusion itself Workbench wouldn't start. I might have to recopy the main menu layout and do that again. Washable. UIs are kind of finicky sometimes. It's possible. You could break Workbench. It's not a hard thing to do. It does its best. Breaking our tools live. Gosh. Welcome to the wonderful world of modding, everyone. I mean, this is like my daily wrestle. It's fun. Goodness. Don't let anyone ever tell you that modding is just a simple walk between 2 points. It's usually mired with left and right turns and winds, and yeah, I think I did break it. I might just be impatient or watching water boil. Not even moving. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and just delete this. We'll see if that fixes things. Try to get back into a working state. Man, I'm not sure if it's working because normally it yells at me that I need Daisy data. Oh man. And wait. I mean, I didn't do anything other than saving that, right? Like, let's copy this stuff. That should have no issue. Let's compare against something else. PPP. They're not doing anything there. Yeah, I'm just doing backsplashes. We're fine there. Yikes. See, is it still running in the background or something? I might have to restart my computer. Jeez. Well, it broke my Daisy, guys. I'm sorry. We did this once before on one of the earlier videos. It just happens. No, I mean, you're not wrong. Sometimes Daisy just gets in a weird, funky state. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and Try and zero it out. And it's funny too, because like I've been doing this for a long time, so I have a lot of knickknacks or different troubleshooting techniques. So I guess it's good to see what those are for the wider community. Like usually I try to start with the shortest, quickest way to figure out what's going on. Like all we did was we copied the layout from DayZ and then put it into into our game. So our mod here. I did put the language core stuff in here with the string table, but that shouldn't be a problem. I go to my script here. Oh, maybe it's that, and I need to delete the folder. Maybe I was getting hung up on the language core naming. I don't see why it would, but maybe. Just maybe. Good old Pakaruski. And what I expect to happen is the server to try and start, but then fail because the main menu doesn't exist because I deleted the folder. Wow. Fingers crossed. Oh man, something's really going on. Dude, what the hell? Well, this is not how I was expecting it to go. Like I've done this before. I have it right, GUI, layouts, UI, main menu. Yeah, man, we'll figure it out. It's DayZ being DayZ. I mean, this could just need a restart, you know? Could have something locked, some file locked in the background. When in doubt, restart, you know? Not like I did anything out of the ordinary. Hmm. Yeah, but Daisy is definitely not wanting to run. Last time it was something stupid like I had more than 10 lines in a recipe. So it's funny because like it could be something as innocuous as that. Like it could be that it's because there's this comma over here. Like, or I did this thing. Let's see. Let's look at vanilla. Let's look at their language core. Maybe it's getting mad at that. Or string table. See, some of these have. Yeah, none of those have their hashtag in front. Gonna name this thing correctly. Let's go and just copy and paste the existing GUI. Y. Then refresh. And then we'll want to rename it. Makarooski. No, it's definitely not working. Okay, we'll delete the string table just completely. Repack. Okay, so it was the string table. Interesting. Why would that break it? I've used string tables before. That's so interesting. Because I had an empty line at the end? Panic schmanic. We totally know what we're doing here. I think the biggest takeaway from what you saw there is I didn't touch any code. Like, definitely wasn't a coding problem. So like sometimes like when you're a new modder, you can flail a little bit when you encounter an issue. Try to make sure that when you make a change, you're making a change for a specific reason and then testing it. If you go back and rewatch that, 10, 15 minutes of me going through a bunch of checks, I'm essentially doing something to see if something will happen. And each time I did it was very small units of work. And that's really like the only way, in my opinion, to program. Otherwise, I could have done 9 different things and then started the game up and not know why. And so in this case, we know exactly why Workbench would start. The string table was broken in some way. And so, I'll go investigate this in my free time a little bit as to why, and I'll tell you guys later. But it's important to do things that way because, again, now we know, and knowing is much more important than having the right answer, in my opinion. Because people always ask the same questions. Save. So let's go ahead and change this to text. Play label. Just so that we know it's our stuff. And I'll work with the string table. There's definitely a way to make it work, and it's usually just drop in. So figure out why it's not. Okay, crunch it up. And then we'll start the server. Nice and easy. Oh yeah, that feels good. Look at it go. New question here: is the string table for different languages when players see the main menu? Yes, that's not a new question. That's a very good question. Yeah, the developers or really in any case when I have many languages I want to represent a specific set of text, I usually will identify it with an ID. So in this case, some name, and then we each have a comma separated list of what that value should be for, in this case, original, English, Czech, German, Russian, Polish, Italian. And so the order matters here. Spanish, French, Chinese, Japanese, Portuguese, and Chinese simplified. Now, the bigger question from my side is if I were to add another one here, which is a wing ding, right? If I were to go in and make my own new entry at the end, wing dinger, would it also apply for that? And so I don't know the answer to that, but I have a feeling it's yes. Maybe. But maybe one of the people in the video can wrestle with that and experiment with it. But yeah, and as you can see here, I've made my own string table for some of my own settings. I don't have them translated because usually when somebody of that language is like, hey, could you translate that for me? And I'd be like, well, what should it be? And they would give me the value. Nobody really ever does that. So English is kind of is what I use until told otherwise. Okay, so my server started up. We're good. Let's go and connect to it. I think you could use ChatGPT to generate translations, although your results may vary. So some of you might be looking, okay, as we're loading into the game, like take note at what we're seeing here, because these different screens that we're popping in and out on are the different parts of loading into the game. And so a lot of people conflate these views that we're seeing with the main menu, and that's a big problem because they're not, and they're different. So I just want to dispel that notion right now. Modifying these views is not difficult, but just know that they're different. All right, let's see. We're in the game and we're looking for the main menu. I won't find it here, so I really gotta exit. It's one of the lamest things about the main menu, in my opinion. It's really hard to actually test it. And so, as you can see, we have a clone of the main menu. The music is going on in the background, and my custom change for the UI is here. So I know my UI is loaded. And so we basically have done what we set out to do. I wanted to make a main menu. I wanted to be able to customize it, and I wanted to be able to load it into the game. Now, where you would want everything to be positioned on the screen and themed and stuff like that is a completely different discussion, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But at the very least, we have done what we set out to. Our very own layout being loaded to the game, connected to all the stuff with very little code. You might wonder, hey, you have a black screen in the background. Well, and that's because in this menu, I don't have the background or the world definition set up. Not fully sure how to do that. I was half expecting some default value, but we could be underground. Or I might not have set one for Tombstone. So let's let's look into this a little bit. Yikes, why is that happening? Alright, so I got an exception while closing out the game, so I'm gonna look at why. I'm wondering why that's happening. So I'm going to my diag logs. And I come over to my crash log. What do we get here? Oh, it's one of my other mods because I haven't loaded it in. All right, never mind. That might not be anything. And my RPT. Script log. Okay, we're fine, it looks like. Nothing big. Nothing to worry about, at least. I would have cared if it was a main menu problem, like if it would have like thrown a main menu error here. Okay. So I know from experience that when you're on the main menu and the view that you see is something set up through the world files. I'm going to jog my memory, though, from an existing main menu I've done. See if that's right. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about some of the things that are available to you in a main menu just by default. Okay, so I think some people that start servers don't really understand some of the things that are available to you from the config side. Sure, it's not. Or actually, this might be something new in the mission folders. Hold on. Let's look at this together. If I go to MP missions, if I go to Churners Plus, and I go to CFG gameplay, I know that they've been adding new stuff for server owners to do things with like spawning. So did they change the lists of things that spawn in with a player here? No, just stamina. Oh yeah, with the latest DayZ update, I don't want to say broke unlimited stamina mod because that mod was already broken long before DayZ updated to make it so that it didn't work. So, the unlimited stamina mod is broken, but that's not a bad thing because that stuff is already built into the game here. So if you wanted to make unlimited stamina, you would basically change the sprint swimming stamina modifier, the sprint ladder modifier, the sprint stamina modifier ERC, which is erect, and then sprint stamina modifier CRO, which is crouch. You just turn all those to 0, and basically it would make it so that you don't consume stamina when you're moving. That way, you still have the weight penalty. In my opinion, that's important for DayZ. The weight penalty is critical to the gameplay loop. If you allow people to carry a full load of things and don't reduce their stamina, then they're basically, they can melee forever, or they can vault things forever. Now, if that's what you want, then you would also turn this stamina kg to percent penalty to 0. And then you would basically literally have unlimited stamina. But it doesn't look like these values I was looking for are here. So if you're wanting to change in the main menu the shirts or the pants or the clothing available to a new survivor, that is all supplied here in the DayZ data class. There's actually a lot of stuff in here, but right here in this class, the CFG character creation, you already see the default stuff. If you wanted to remove a player or a survivor type from a selectable or playable character, you can do that here. All of the survivors that you can be are listed out. They all have names. They're great. You know, Mirik, Boris, Cyril, Helga, Frida. You could add guns for people to cycle through, headgear, and so like I know a lot of people have like paid, or servers have paid for loadout mods, but in reality you could just make a simple loadout mod here and just let people pick what they want as a new spawn. So that's one thing I feel people have missed out on, and you can see that there is one for every slot and they're just not defined. So the game is meant to sort of pick those up. Alrighty, going down further, we have character scenes, CFG character scenes, and in Turners Plus we have couple different definitions. Collapse all these. Don't need that. Okay, yeah. So it looks like, at least for Chernarus, they have already several definitions of the target. So where should I be looking? The position. Where should my camera be? What is my field of view? So how fisheye should my lens be, or how focused should it be on a specific, I guess, area? The date, this is what will determine the temperature, the time, the weather. Overcast here, just some more modifiers on this thing, and then an amount of fog. Oh, there's also snow now? Oh, I wonder if, let's go ahead and... Oh yeah, look at, so thank you, Genry, for that. So if I search on CFG character scenes, and I'll go to Enoch. They have snow here? No. Lame. Where would I find that out, Genry? Oh, I guess here in the intro scene. Doesn't look like it's here. You might have added it yourself, which would be pretty cool. Or maybe you are at a elevation that allows snow. Do I have Sakal packed? So the Sakal world files are not unpackable at the moment. They have kept those tight. So if we go to... I have most of the Sakal files unpacked, but if we go to DayZ itself and we go to the DTA folder, sorry, no, if we go to add-ons, it's in here somewhere. Yeah, add-ons. So DayZ itself is packed with its own tools, right? PBOs, and you can see everything in here. And if we go down to Sakal, sorry, Sakal is in DLC, which is in here. If we go down, all of these PBOs are unpacked. The difference here is that the world file for Sakal is an EBO, so we don't have access to the nice data that we have for Cherners, which is what we were showing here. So we have everything but the world, and I'm not sure why the devs haven't sort of released the Sakal information for us, the world stuff. But I'm not sure we ever will, because it's an EBO. Maybe when we get another DLC. Let's go ahead and... I'm gonna go ahead and take this and I'm gonna put it into my own menu. I'm gonna copy the Cherners values, and I'm gonna go to my root level config, and we're just gonna dump it in here for now, because I'm testing at this moment. I don't really know if this will work or not. You're watching, you know, live modding. I have a feeling this name right here maps to the name of the world. So we're just gonna see if that works, honestly. I don't even want to change anything here. I want to see if I were to just add my own, could I even override an existing character scene? Which I think the answer is yes, but we'll find out if it actually is. See if we crash anything first. Oh, I'm glad that you appreciate the content. If you're interested in the stuff that I've already done, we've already done 8 other recordings that are all on YouTube. So definitely just trying to up level the skill of all modders out there and give them a place to hear about scripting. It's not as sterile as people would like to think. People will think like, oh man, Tree, Dolphin, War Dog, you guys are such good modders, such good scripters. You can build whatever you want. It's like, yeah, but like, look, like what I'm doing now is what I usually do. Is just spend hours and hours sandboxing and testing and seeing if a thing will work. So it's really more of a function of willpower, not intellect. They're in the guides and tutorials channel. There's a scripting fundamentals. Okay, so we're in the game. We're going to exit now. Uh-oh. Does not seem to like that. Okay, so it doesn't look like I can just dump this in here. I wonder why, though. Yes, is the bigger question. Why am I crashing out? App data, local, busy. Access violation. Okay, so it's trying to read something we don't have access to. Error log. Widget, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. VPN and tools needs to fix its stuff. Getting there. Can't open graphics particles, material glow. That's not mine though. Okay. VPP. Can't load material and then just crashed. Okay, well that's useful. Starts unloading mission. Just breaks. Okay, so not sure what's going on here. Definitely something client breaking. Go and get rid of the sample map. That. Let's see, how did we do the layout, the intro scene here? Intro scene character. Oh, okay, it just sets the camera in the main intro scene. That's not the main menu. Get intro scene PC. Ah, okay. So when the main menu starts, it gets the intro scene. So most likely something's crashing in here. So that returns a Daisy intro scene PC layout, which is here, which inherits from Daisy intro scene, which is its own little U widget. Yeah, it's managed. Awesome. This is where we saw that other stuff. Okay, okay. I would have half expected it to break somewhere in here and to tell me about it. But let's go ahead and we'll mod this ourselves. 5 mission, new modded. Daisy, interesting. I think I need to include those location files in my actual world files for my own map. So Tombstone is the map that I'm working on, and I need to put those things in my own map. But I don't have it because I haven't done it yet. Okay, modded class Daisy interesting. So how does this thing work? So when we start the intro scene, we grab a bunch of stuff. Get intro camera, character, reset camera. Set the init process, get the name, snap to ground. Okay. So here, in my opinion, is one of the UI areas that Genry kind of touched on a little while ago in the UI channel about that are hard coded. And so one of my, I guess, I wouldn't say things I don't like, but it's just a contention point. If you look at this UI scene, all right, no matter what, it does these things. Okay. And I don't have a problem with that. My biggest issue is that if I want to add something into this flow, doing so is difficult, especially if I want to modify something up here, like at the top. And the reason why is because all of this code is inside of the constructor. And the constructor within DayZ is a special function. Like if you're a programmer, you know that constructors themselves create the object, they initialize the memory, they construct it at the beginning. It's what allows an object to be an object and exposes it to the rest of like the code runtime. So in DayZ, since we can mod classes, constructors are just appended on one to each other, kind of like an include file or include header. It's basically the same thing. And so when I want to mod DayZ intro scene and I want to change something in here inside this constructor, I either have to, well, I don't really have any choice. I have to assume that all this code will run, and then if I want to do something different, I'll have to reinitialize this stuff as something else. And that's because of the way it's appended. I would have much rather preferred there to be like an init function. That way I can call my code first or after, and then call super, which then invokes their code. And so it just would give me a little more control. And so it's just kind of a lame thing, because like right now, interfacing with the intro scene is difficult because of this notion. And so I've done this in the past where I've set up my own intro scene, and if you look here, the constructor is setting weather, spawning characters, spawning items, and creating loaded characters. And I've sort of abstracted out some of the stuff to be done after the constructor is called. And I don't like this approach, but it's the way it works. So looking at this camera position, CFG character scenes, get world name. So how is the intro scene doing this? Does the intro scene even care about the character scenes? It does. Grabs it. Position. This is important. It sets the game, sets the static camera. Layout root equals get layout. Exactly. There just needs to be a way of grabbing the root layout. But I think that's mainly because the UI wasn't built to be super moddable. It's only until recently, in the latest update, that we've gotten some new stuff to kind of help us out. So I guess how... I want to know why my game is crashing as soon as I go to the main menu and try to load into my scenes that I set, right? Like, because this should work. Right, my world name is Tombstone. World, big, Tombstone. My biggest question is that this might be underground. I mean, the 2000. Very, very high up. So let's go ahead and we'll just comment this out for now. start up our server. Tombstone Diag server. Diag client. Cool. Like maybe that's an issue. We're trying to spawn us under the terrain, which is breaks for some reason. Who knows? You can also show how to change weather in Daisy intro scene. Copy that. Void Daisy intro scene. So again, we're going to supply us some nice code to allow us to modify that CFG character scenes. And so given a property value name snowfall, I can come in here and I imagine it's a value between 1 and 0. We'll do 75% snow. And we will check that out when we get the positions working. Okay, so let's go ahead and get us in a spot that we care about. And then press P. Nope. P. Copy to clipboard. Whoops. So this is our target. I'm hoping that's X, Y, and Z. Config Victor, swap Y and Z. What does swap Y, Z do? Do I need to care about that? Oh god. See, so this is, in my opinion, probably a like point of contention, or like I don't know. Like, do I need to swap my X and Y? Because it kind of looks like it. If you look at the vanilla, you know, it's bigger than that one, but I'm gonna say yes. I don't. All right, we'll try that. Okay, and then the position of the camera should be like here. Like I could see maybe the ray cast was too big. So I was like, all right, let's try that. Can't find variable scene path. What? That's new. Didn't see that last time. A scene. Oh gosh. Okay, yeah, duh. Da, da, da. Intro scene. Main path is root path. And I need root path to be this. Interesting that that didn't like that compiled in. Come on, close out. Oh, my cursor's broke. Oof, Daisy's struggling. Okay. Two decimals. All right, fingers crossed. Oh my gosh. The client too early before the compilers came in. See, and this is why you want to use Workbench. All right, I'm showing you in real time. Child name. Oh, you know what? I don't really need to randomize it. So this code is randomizing which location is picked. I don't care about randomization, so we are just going to hard code it. Location 1. Boom. All right, and actually, really, the above is just trying to be clever. We can definitely avoid doing that. Boom. Good, read mission. Awesome. Position is camera position. Target is where the camera looks at, but it's not where players spawned at. Players spawn relative to camera position. Ah, okay. Target is where to look at. Position is where the camera is. Players spawned in some distance. And so if we looked at vanilla, looking about 2.7 meters difference from the X. 8.5 for the Y or the Z. About 6 for the Y. And hopefully this doesn't crash me out. Oh, I was expecting to be on the background somewhere. Oh, it's like the background isn't being removed. You can kind of see the outline of the character right here. wonder why that's not going away. I wonder what the sample map is for. Oh, this must be for workbench. Ooh, okay, that's interesting. I can literally I can link my workbench script editor to a config property in my game. There are some attributes. I didn't know you could do attributes. What? Make a UI, tooltip, shortcut. I was wondering how I added my own shortcuts, because I'd love to be able to be on Workbench and like press a button and start my own server. Looks like CF Tools has something. This is kind of cool. Wow. All right. Well, this is something new. I'll have to look into. I wonder why that's not doing it. So in the server that I play, when we do the main menu, this is what we do over here on the right. We grab the world name, get some scene. And then we create a camera. When we create a camera, we set it to look at a player position. We set the focus, we set it active, and then we load the character into the game. I haven't looked too much in this code. I built it like 2 years ago, so it's been a while. Set the weather. Flags for spawning random items. I wish we had like a list of all items in the game. I'd just love to be able to spawn randomly things, but alas, I had to just make my own lists. Doesn't look like that's there. Well, I wonder if this will work. Just gonna copy and paste. Let's create the loaded character and how does the intro scene create its character? It does it in the main. Yeah, see. This is another thing that I wish I'd be able to change, because like they create the character somewhere far away from what I have access to. I have that. I have that. Okay, well, let's see if this works. Because I'm essentially loading the character data twice. I hate the fact that I have to do this. I wonder if I could just set the character position. That's something I can do instead. Because I've learned something building this. Character object. Okay. Get character object. Can I set the character position? Create new character. Load. Load. Set attachment. Oh, so I wonder if I could just be like, if character. So if the character intro scene is not null, then I want to just get it. to my new player position. And then I would set to my player direction. Allegedly, I don't even need to make a new character. That would be nice. Let's see if that works. And if this does work, I'm going to wonder why vanilla wasn't working. And maybe we can debug that later. Really just trying to get that background to show up. Because once we have that, we can really place the camera anywhere in the world in front of any existing structure on your map or layout or whatever. And so it becomes very dynamic once you consider it that way. Not only that, but once you have a handle on your camera, you can move the camera. And so I've always thought having a like a helicopter in the air rotating around an area to be kind of a cool loading screen. That's totally possible for this case, because the main menu is simulated just like the game. The players that you see there is basically your player with all of its gear loaded in on it. Mom, fingers crossed. I bet you it's working. It's just the UI not going invisible. I'll have to look into why. Not gonna do it for the video though. We've already spent enough time. But it's a good landing spot for a wrestle. Most likely it is the scene. Set intro camera. Well, we're getting close to the end. Does anyone have any specific questions we can focus on for the last few minutes of Q&A? Oh yeah, this is pretty cool. So you can see basically the camera is in a position, there's snow falling, button down here. Yeah, that's some cool stuff. Kind of like a stalker menu. You can do some really interesting things. It's probably the loading screen not being... Bleh. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then we'll go ahead and close down the video. I don't want it to get larger than 2 hours. Man, it's kind of crazy how time just flies. Talking about modding, I can talk about it forever. So we'll be doing this again next week, and we'll continue on the main menu. I'll probably have figured out why it's not bringing back to the to that one spot, and we'll continue on further, probably with loading screens, and then theming and then we'll move on to like theming the inventory layout. I've seen some of that stuff being paid for, which I think is kind of ridiculous. So we'll move forward on that. Cool. Well, have a great afternoon, everyone. Morning, evening, wherever you are. And we'll see you next week. Bye.